Yo, homies, as always, man, thank you guys so much for clicking on the video. One thing I want to say, one thing that I learned from my grandma, my great-grandma, is always ask questions and never believe just one person. As always, homies, we back with the foolishness. Now you guys know what I want. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section because, man, it's about to be either a lot of claps or a lot of hand rubs in this one because this is a freaking rare video, bruh. I ain't done a video like this in over a year and a half to where I'm going to break down the frame rework abilities on a casual level all the way to the endurance level on scaling and everything else that it's going to do. Now, for the people who don't know, because I haven't done this in so long, this is my favorite thing. Breaking down the warframes, this is kind of where I thrive at, right? Other than being a trash talker. So we're going to go over Wukong's abilities, all four of them, and let you know the whole gist of this rework because the chat in Twitch today was going a little bit crazy when we were looking at the Wukong rework changes that DE showed off, right? Is it going to be a good one or a bad one? So just to warn you guys, I don't want to give any spoilers to this rework. It's trash. It's completely destroyed. Trust me, nobody wants it. Flip it, fried fish, barbecue, throw it away, delete them out your phone. I'm just playing. Let's go ahead and jump into it, right? The first ability, which he had at first, was called Iron Jab. Trash. I don't care what y'all say. It was trash. Iron Jab is now replaced with an ability called Hair of the King. Now, this is the third video game to where Wukong has an ability that starts off with Hair of the King or Hair of something, right? Because that's just one of the abilities that he's always had in so many other different video games. And what this ability does is that it summons a clone, and it's kind of like a replica, a toned down version of how he is in Paragon, which is what WARFRAME kind of went with here. Because Wukong's always known for the clone, right? So my man summons a clone. This clone's a little bit different though. It's not like a Equinox clone in the same sense. It's a little bit different. It's not like a Excal Umbra. It got its own mechanic. So it was kind of intriguing to me. So what it does is that when you summon the clone, if you have out your primary weapon, your clone is going to be in melee, right? And if you have out your melee weapon, the clone is going to have out his primary weapon. And now I looked at this in two different ways. I was like, I don't know, Chief. I don't know. All right, so the reason to why I'm kind of skeptical on this, right, is because at lower level to mid level, lower level, first off, doesn't matter. No one cares. Anything works, okay? So let's get that out the way. Mid level to higher level, the clone is going to benefit more from having its primary weapon because the primary weapon is either going to give you CC, is going to give you the procs that you need, and it's going to keep the clone alive longer. Now, here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that the clone is not going to be invincible. It's going to be based on duration or just the overall health that it has, kind of like something like Equinox's clone to where you can just re-summon it back, right? Or maybe it's going to be duration, whatever the case is. The thing about it is that the clone is not going to scale like how Spectres scale as well. So it's going to be a flat value, and it's not going to have anything like Equinox to where it's going to have that humongous range, right? So the thing about it to why it's skeptical is because at higher level, you don't want to have your melee out. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later onto why, because they changed up on how you're actually going to play Wukong a little bit, right? So you're going to want to focus on your primary weapon, so you need to have your melee out for your clone to actually use the primary weapon. So overall, I would say it's just it is better than the Iron Jab because you can get CC and a little bit more faster DPS off of it. So I can't get mad off of it because it is a first ability. So, you know, and it gives you a little bit more distraction from pulling aggro from enemies, right? So that's cool. That's cool, right? So let's go ahead and jump into the big fish, the big kahanas, you know what I'm saying? That's French for, my God, this moved and switched up. Now, it's going to be Defy, which is what everybody loves on Wukong. It's what he's known for. It's the only thing that kept him alive because he's been so trash in the first place. Defy was his only good ability. So look, Defy changed, bro. I'm going to give you guys a moment to process that. Yeah, it changed. So you guys remember you could turn off, you could turn on Defy and you could just go brain dead like, right? That's how Wukong players play. Just dead, brain dead when they turn on Defy because they know they're not going to die. The thing is, Defy kind of changed. So what it does now is that it taunts the enemy. So taunting the enemy, that's good because it pulls aggro. So that means you're going to be able to help out in certain scenarios, pull the enemy's attention away from your teammates or whatever the case might be going on. Or you can pull the enemy's attention away from your clones. So that's lit right there. That's good stuff, right? Taunting is always good in games like this. Now, the next thing that it does is that it's not completely invincible anymore. And that's right there is where you knock the bride and groom off the wedding cake right there. A lot of people lost their stuff. They were saying, rip Wukong, RIP to Wukong, he's dead. This is not my king. And the thing about it is that's crazy is because with his generalized loadout, it's really not looking that nice for him, because when you think about it, taking away the invincibility, plus here's the thing, I'm all the way cool for taking away invincibility, but make sure that you give him something else to really, I would say, add to that kit. The kit got to be great if you're removing something so great, right? Because I feel like invincibility is brain dead, whatever, right? But my opinion don't matter. So the thing about it is, now you can't just stay in Defy forever. You have to use Defy, boom, boom, do whatever you got to do, then get out of Defy and keep yourself alive and then go back into Defy at a different time. I get that. That's pretty... It changes up to where they're taking away from the lazy gameplay to where you have to press the buttons more now with Wukong. Because at first, you didn't really have to press any buttons with Wukong, and that was always a thing, right? So you guys got to let me know what you guys think about that. Taking away the invincibility, I mean, the immortalness, invincibility from Wukong's Defy, and that's where a lot of people lost it, man. A lot of people were so upset in the Twitch chat, they were kind of like just spazzing, right? So now Cloud Walker, you know what I'm saying? The Michael Jackson moon dance. Oh yeah. So the thing about this one is that it's increased speed and it's added damage buff. So he got a damage buff. So that's pretty cool. So the thing is, it's supposed to add to crit and everything. But the thing is, the longer that you're in Cloud Walker, the stronger the buff. So that's pretty good. He got a damage buff from losing some of the invincibility. Now, right? The Defy really didn't matter at lower level, and it didn't matter at mid level. Where it really shines is high level, to where you can really take control of the fight. You can pick up teammates, you can activate life support and endurance runs, whatever you're going to do. That's where you're really going to be affected. So when players get this rework, you're going to have people that's like, oh, I really don't see the problem at all. I think it's fine. That's because you're fighting against level 40s. Shut up. Where this thing really comes into play, where it's going to affect players or a certain part of the community, is going to be in the higher level content, right? Because if it's operating the way that I'm think it's going to operate, to where you have to get out of it kind of like an Iron Skin, in a way it's not really Iron Skin, but that's the way they're training it to be, to where you can lose it more so. And if that's the case, his survivability went down, which is number one thing, was always his survivability. His survivability went down. You know what I'm saying? So that's always the case. Now, the Cloud Walker buff, I think that just only applies to him. I don't see how it would apply to the teammates, unless the augment is going to change, which is something that they didn't talk about. And they didn't talk about his passive at all. Plus, the thing about it is, Warframe rarely changes passives, fam. I really hate how they rarely change passives, right? Because I feel like if it's a full rework, a full-on overall change, the passive should be affected. But, not in this lifetime. Here we go. Primal Fury. So basically what they said about Primal Fury is that it has increased damages, right? It's gonna operate the same way as Baruch, right? And it's styled meter, and basically the clone receives a copy. So that's pretty cool with the clone. I think that's actually pretty lit, and that right there is following the same Paragon formula with the clones doing extra damage in your ulti. I think that's pretty cool. Now, all of this comes down to how you're going to build Wukong. So what seems to change is that Wukong, to me, could always survive, but he did not have the DPS in long endurance runs, or whatever the case is that you're doing. He didn't have it. I don't care how good you are as a Wukong player. Facts are facts. He didn't have the damage to keep doing the killing at higher level. Now, he's getting a damage buff. His clone can actually add more damage to it. So if the clone does the same amount of damage that he's going to be doing, then that could be double the DPS for faster kills per second. So I kind of rock with that. That's kind of cool. But overall, is the pros and the cons equal to the overall loss that you took from Defy? The clone would have to be one of the best clones in the game, I feel like. I feel like Defy is fine as much as you're upset with it based on playstyle and mechanics. Cloud Walker, I feel like I don't know, should apply something towards the clone, which is your 1. Primal Fury is still going to be Impact, which to me is kind of trash, and the combos doesn't look that fire. So overall, man, I could see why people were saying it's a rip and goodbye Wukong, this not my king, because you lost a lot of the survivability just to do more now, when all they had to do was add more to him, but not make him as brain dead, but just add a little bit more to him. So it's going to need some play testing, some more definitely, but based on everything that goes, based on all the clones in the game, the clone is not going to be scaling. It's going to be on the same range as Equinox. We just don't know if it's going to be duration or what. But man, they promised me a super overhaul change. They said it's not just going to be a tweak or a quality of life. It's going to be a big change. Was this a big change? Nah, it wasn't a big change. The only thing that they did was that they took out Iron Jab and then they made a clone, right? They took out Iron Jab and then they made a clone. Defy got a tweak, right? Cloud Walker got a tweak. Primal Fury got a tweak. These are tweaks. These are quality of life changes. This isn't a complete overhaul rework. You know what I'm saying? You basically buffed Primal Fury. Cloud Walker, you kind of buffed it, which is then quality of life. Primal Fury equals quality of life as well. So those are the things that I'm looking at. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, it's still subpar, bro. It doesn't matter how you look at it. It's still basically subpar. It's not that much of a giant change. The only tweak that you're basically going to look at for when you look and you're playing Wukong is that you're going to see a clone out there. You're going to see a Wukong clone. Defy basically changed. So, L. I'm just sorry, man. It's just an L. That's just what it is. We were promised the overall complete change rework. It was mainly quality of life changes with one change to his first. And other than that, everything else seemed like it was a downplay just because Defy is such a huge move. It's hard to compensate to give from what they gave him. So it's an overall L. And just based on this, he got weaker in higher endurance level runs. So that right there is a major blow to the people that use him in endurance runs. Okay, now timestamp this. I want to say this. From what they gave Wukong, it's trash. Let me tell you why it's trash. It's too many amazing frames in this game for him to try to keep up with on this level. These are basically subpar changes compared to like a Saren, a Nidus, an Octavia, all the other frames in the game, to where even Rhino, to where they do things and how they synergize. It's not a full-on kit on synergy. And I feel like Warframe is too far, 7 years into the game, to still be making things from like back in 2013. You see what I'm saying? And I'm going to critique it and I'm going to tell you guys some honest facts. It's a whack change. I feel like Wukong players, I see why they're upset and I understand it, because 7 years in and you couldn't come up with something with more synergy, something a lot better. It doesn't matter if you can find a way to make something work. The thing is that the synergy is off. The synergy is wrong. The compensation for what they gave him is a little bit off. And here's the thing that I got to say. Wukong always had his moves already predetermined. So Warframe doesn't have to come up with anything. They just got to say what the buffs are. Wukong moves are already predetermined based on all the video games that he's in. They're just replicating all the moves that he's already had in existence. So, man, it's whack, man, because it's too many good frames in the game. And I guess the thing is, like, why would you choose a Wukong over this, or why would you choose a Wukong with this? You should have options. You need to have options of, like, choose Wukong, choose Rhino, choose Nidus, or something. It needs to be options. It just doesn't need to be so outclassed based on setups and everything else. And that's just what I have to say, man. I got to call it how I see it. You know what I'm saying? Being a 2 year in the process rework, it seems rushed. It seemed like there wasn't really nothing there. And we all know this, bro. Clones are stupid because the AI is just dumb in this game. So do we timestamp this? Because the AIs are just dumb. AIs are not going to help you. So that's another reason to why it's an L. And I'm sorry, Wukong players, man. I'm sorry.